Hey there, Nick Chatakis here. In this video, we're going to go over the butterfly effect of having a technical blog for over the last 9 years. By the way, right now this blog post is hosted on localhost. By the time you watch this video, it will be available on my site. I'll leave a link to that one in the description. So while reflecting on a very recent opportunity, I thought about some of the interesting things that presented itself throughout this blog. So if you're thinking about maybe creating a tech blog or a YouTube channel or making videos or, just putting what you do out in public a little bit more, here are some of the outcomes just from writing about something or making a video about something once a week here. So in 2015, I decided to start a technical blog and also create video courses while doing my usual contract work. I post something now once a week. Back then it wasn't quite as consistent. Sometimes I would even post 2 times a week, but maybe not post for a little bit. But yeah, I've settled on every Tuesday now for the last quite a few years here. But yeah, I've always been really fascinated by the idea of the butterfly effect. So if that's a phrase you're not familiar with, it basically means taking a small action right now can produce a large change at some point in the future here. So here's a couple interesting ones that were related to writing one specific blog post about Docker, Flask, or any other programming, web development or deployment topic you may see on my site here. And I say one specific because in quite a few cases, folks reach out to me saying they read one specific post or watched one specific video, and that led to some form of a relationship that led to something. In other cases, folks say they casually just generally follow my work, and that led to something else here. So a couple of the examples that we're going to go over here, they're not listed in order by preference or anything like that. These are just what I thought about while writing the post here. And yeah, one of them was just traveling with Tech Field Day twice from New York, which is where I live, to California. So the organization owner, Stephen Foskett, reached out to me saying he just followed my blog for a while, liked what I was up to, and just invited me to go. And it was one of those crazy things where the turnaround time was by the way, do you want to go? Yep, cool. Travel arrangements were made, and a couple of weeks later I was there. So these links here have really in-depth detail about both of those trips there. I'm not going to cover that in this video here, but yeah, some of the highlights were just life experiences, such as getting to travel to California. Also got a chance to visit SETI's headquarters, to get a tour with Seth Shostak there. He's a senior astronomer at SETI Institute. That was awesome. And then I also got a chance to visit Docker's headquarters in San Francisco. And this is back in 2018. Gordon the Turtle was still around then, RIP. And yeah, it was a really cool experience. We also got a chance to do an escape room with all the folks who went to Tech Field Day there, which is really fun. And then, yeah, just meeting with like-minded individuals who are, in the same ecosphere as myself here, and keeping some of those connections for years around. And then also there's just been so much assorted contract and full-time work as well. For example, there's really too many to individually list here, but one takeaway is, someone read a specific post, reached out to me, and then we worked together in some way. This could be something maybe like a one-off where I just worked with someone for 2 hours, but there's quite a few long-term multi-year contracts here, maybe working 10 hours a week. Or, I had one client for 5.5, 6 years where I just met them every week for 2 hours. We did code reviews, bounced ideas off each other, and it was quite some fun. Now, when it comes to some of those clients here, yeah, I met quite a few in person when they were traveling near New York. Maybe we can just have some lunch, hang out for a bit. And I'm still in contact with quite a few previous clients as well. Then, there's a scenario where I now have free pizza for life here after getting introduced to a local business owner from a friend who also came through the blog as well here. But yeah, just that's an interesting one. I've made a video about this one too, by the way. But yeah, just learning more about how physical sales and those processes was really eye-opening and kind of shaped how I think about certain problems now. Then there's also just heaps of connections with professionals in, multiple different industries like doctors and dentists and lawyers and accountants and plumbers and all sorts of other trade industries as well, right? These have been really positive experiences, right? Having any of these folks directly available can save you a lot of time and money, but this is not all about getting free services too, right? It's about having access to ask a lawyer or a doctor for their opinion on something. They may do it for free if it's a quick chat, but it's not really about the money. It's about making that connection here. If something happens with a car, I have a mechanic I can call to at least assure that I don't get ripped off when I do pay someone or maybe him to do that work as well here. So yeah, in another case here, one of the Flask posts led to doing contract work for a company for quite some years here. And eventually they invited me to work full-time. And yeah, it's doing similar things that I basically was already doing, but it kind of just consolidated to having essentially air quotes one client. I've never worked a full-time job prior to this, but I will say that yeah, it is a lot different than contract work. I mean, you just get exposed to many things that you typically don't see and do while doing contracting work. So I'm still learning and learned quite a lot from that. I do actually suggest that everyone at least experience that. So I've been doing contract work for over 20 years, but yeah, having this has been quite interesting. They also invited me to go to India to meet some of their international remote teams. Still on the fence about that trip. Would like to do it, but it's there, as something to potentially do as well, which is quite a far trip from the Eastern US, but yeah. And then there's also just general involvement with Docker, right? So I started blogging about Docker and probably around 2015, they caught wind of some of those posts there, kind of were interested in what I was working on, and they invited me to this Docker Captains program here. Made quite a few friendships around that one. Went to a whole bunch of different local meetups in New York City. And then very recently, Docker invited me to a Docker Captains Summit in Lisbon, Portugal. I've actually never left the country before in my life. This turned into planning a 2-week solo Portugal and southwestern Spain trip with basically, 5 weeks of notice. And I never even left the US before. I had to get a passport. It's still not here, by the way. This is kind of an interesting one because it's like, I'm writing about this before the trip is actually happening. It's about a month away at this point in time, but I'm, pre-recording this video and making this post now so that by the time I'm on the trip, I'm not going to miss 1 week of posting. I'll just post this video then here. So yeah, I guess if you're reading this, then I was at least alive on that Tuesday of whatever I decide to post this. Yeah, cool. Hopefully still alive when I get back, or if I get back. Beyond that, there's a whole bunch of other things that I didn't list here, like starting and stopping the Running in Production podcast. And I'm also skipping a whole bunch of different small but interesting interactions. Like, for example, I took the train to New York City, visiting a coworker there. And while boarding the train, someone from Lebanon doing their PhD in theoretical physics mixed with quantum computing, they asked me if that's the correct train to go to because they weren't familiar with that train station. So out of nowhere, we just chatted about this and that, and it ended up being like a 90-minute conversation around programming, life in different countries, what it's like to get a PhD, and all sorts of different assorted topics there. That was really cool. So these are all this little fun life experiences that started with writing a blog post, right? Because if I never wrote that blog post, then I never would have gotten that contract work to end up doing full-time work to meet that coworker. So that's like the example of how a butterfly effect takes into action there. But it kind of still boggles my mind here that these are kicked off from just spending an hour or 2 or 3 writing about something I already enjoy doing, right? Sometimes it sort of feels like cheating to enjoy what you're doing, continuously learn about new stuff, getting paid a reasonable amount, and having very interesting things thrown your way from time to time. I'm certainly not famous, and I don't have any real credit, and I definitely haven't made it. I'm just a dude who shows up every week to write about stuff that was interesting to me while ignoring the algorithm, right? Not a single video I ever posted on YouTube or even tweeted ever went viral. And none of my videos are monetized either, which is maybe some of the reasons for that. I have no idea, right? I don't have any plans for this. I just brain dump ideas that I come up with and flesh them out based on what I'm up to. If folks read or watch anything, I'm real happy to have helped and very much appreciate it. If not, that's cool. I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing. But is it worth it? I don't know. For me, yes. But for you, it may depend on your priorities, right? If I focused on nothing but paid contract work or full-time employee work and didn't invest thousands of hours into openly sharing everything here, I would be way better off financially. It's not even close, but money isn't always the driving factor, right? I don't really care about fame or money. Some people want to play the trumpet in an orchestra or maybe become an astronaut. I just like learning new things and solving problems. Materializing what I learned in a blog post or a video is a good way for me to organize my thoughts, to digest what I've learned. Being able to help others is a really nice bonus perk here, which makes it doubly worth it. It's the least I can do also from using and benefiting so much from the open source community. My only regret really is life doesn't last longer. Wouldn't mind 100,000 years here because I barely feel like I scratch the surface on what I want to learn and explore here. But I suppose that's one of life's blessings and curses, right? But yeah, that's basically it for this one. It's kind of interesting. I don't know. I'd be really curious to hear about what are some of your butterfly effects from, maybe even starting a blog or a YouTube channel or whatever it happens to be here. That stuff, as I mentioned before, is super interesting. Really like to think about that. But yeah, if you have any questions or, things like that, let me know in the comments below. I'll answer all of them. And with that said, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. It really does help a lot. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.